Welcome, you're watching Primetime Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Now, the big battle for 2019 has begun with the first phase of elections. Votes were cast in 91 seats across 20 states and union territories today. And as we kick off in the first of the seven-phase election, the big question is, what does this election come down to? Is it a seat-by-seat battle or a referendum on Narendra Modi? Is it BJP or Modi versus the rest? Or is it about issues? And when we speak about issues, does this election essentially come down to a pitch between national security and jobs? To speak on this and other issues, I'm joined today by senior journalist Madhavan Naryanan, Manu Sharma with C Voter. I'm speaking with Zafar of the BJP and Sanjay of the Congress Party. Welcome to all of you and thank you for speaking with us today. Let me start by asking Zafar what this election will come down to. Over the last few days, in all the rallies conducted by the Prime Minister, Mr. Islam, he has spoken about surgical strikes, air strikes and national security. In fact, even in the BJP manifesto, the first section is on national security. The first line is about air strikes and surgical strikes. Why is that your biggest pitch today after 5 years in governance?
See, manifesto is always meant for, for us, it is a commitment to the people. It's a sankalp is meant for the people of this nation. And you have to understand, because in last 5 years, given the development what we have done, we have been able to deliver to the nation whatever decision we have taken in the interest of the people and the interest of the nation. And if you see that people are happy, the middle class is happy, because there was no tax hike. In fact, there is a reduction continuously. We have reduced every year. We have reduced tax, and there was a big relief for the middle class. All the development, be it electricity to every household, be it irrigation, be it potable water to every people. Basically, what we have intended in the past is improve the life of common man. Even in this manifesto, the Sankalpa focus is on ease of living.
No, I'm not talking about the
ensuring
Sankalp
that the middle class
Zafar
Islam,
my question is, if everyone is happy, if everyone has done everything,
coming back, just a second.
Why is your number one pitch national security?
You allow me to you allow me to complete.
Yes.
Allow me to complete. I was about to complete. All I'm saying that, but this is there is one agenda of the people of this country is whether the country is in safe hand, whether the nation is in safe hand, and national security, which always been compromised by the Congress Party and the UPA government, which we have seen after 26/11, they have not been able to respond to Pakistan, and in the past also many decisions which they have taken, it will tantamount that they have always compromised with the national interest. So issues of national importance, issues of national security issues, these are the issues are in people's agenda, and that has to take the priority in our in commitment of Sankalpat for definitely. That's why it is getting a lot of attention. But all the other issues which a common man needs in terms of for them to have a better standard of living is something which has also been addressed in our Sankalpa.
Okay, again, I'm not talking just about the Sankalp Patra, I'm talking about the bigger issue. Sanjay, let me come to you. You know, it's actually unfortunate that it's becoming a sort of a either-or situation, but it has sort of become pitched like that. National security, the biggest pitch on one side, and actually jobs, or even more than jobs, Nyay is the biggest campaign pitch from the Congress Party. Is there an insecurity or a hesitation on national security issues which is coming through?
Well, Tamanna, let me just be forthright here. The BJP's campaign basically is a public admission that on issues of jobs, 45-year high, it's an epic crisis for India. Rural distress is a serious issue on farmer suicides. Inflation has begun to rise even as we talk. The destruction of institutions of governance in India, everybody knows about it. And then you talk about the attacks on the Dalits and minorities. And of course, the Rafale scam, where the Prime Minister himself will be investigated. And you should look at the Supreme Court decision yesterday. So there are big issues in this country. But let me tell you this. The BJP tries to tell the people of India that on national security we are safe. Let me ask this question of the BJP. Pulwama happened, 45 of our CRPF soldiers were killed by a homegrown terrorist. It was an Indian citizen, a local Kashmiri whom the Pakistanis infiltrated and made him into a hardcore terrorist. Now, this is the failure of our own Kashmir policy. This is also a failure of our own policy on stopping terror. So, end of day, if you look at the data, the number of terror incidents are up by 176% since Modi became Prime Minister. Kashmir at the moment, as we talk, is in a terrible shape. And look at the number of security people or the fact that number of civilians who have been killed.
What's your question?
I'm telling you that even on national security, the BJP has been a failure. My question is the BJP has been a failure. So my question to Zafar Islam is, how do you even have the audacity to go to the people of India and say that people are safe?
Okay.
The number of terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir have been at a record high.
I know you're provoking him, Sanjay. I know you're provoking him.
Let him answer. This is a hard question. They have been a failure.
Okay. Now, Zafar Islam, okay, answer that quickly before we move on, but I don't want this to become, you know, just an effort to provoke each other where we don't really talk about issues. National security is an important issue. The BJP's record on national security can be a matter of separate debate. My key question remains the same. After 5 years in power, why should the events of the last few months before the election dominate your election campaign? Zafar Islam, would you like to answer Sanjay Jahan my question?
See, it is not, it is a people's agenda, as I said earlier, and it has to have the attention. It has to, let him speak, then I'll speak.
No, he's done.
I don't want some interruption by Mr. Sanjay.
No.
Has he done? Okay.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying that it's a people's agenda and it has to find a place in our manifesto, it is in our Sankalpat, and it has to get a lot of attention for sure. And party which ignores will definitely will get the proper treatment from the people of this country itself. As a voter, they will do justice. But away from that, let me tell you, in the last 5 years, we have focused to improve the livelihood of people. The income level has gone up. If you see in the rural area, the livelihood has improved substantially in the last 5 years. And that can be corroborated with the kind of demand we have seen in terms of motorcycle, two-wheelers, four-wheelers in the rural area. That only suggests that the livelihood, the income level has gone up. Of course, it does not get captured in the payroll system purely because there is no method in the country at this point in time where every single job which has been created gets captured in the payroll system. Only in the organized sector, which is 13% of the and where the job has been created, it gets captured in the form of NPS or EPFO or ESIC. You will get the exact number. But away from that, 87% is in unorganized sector, and a lot of activities is there, and the income level has gone up. And something which I think this Congress party and other opposition parties have not been able to see that the way the entire nation is seeing. So we are happy that what we have been able to do in the last 5 years. Okay. We have created jobs. People are happy, and people will this time.
I don't know why you're talking about auto sector though. I don't know why you're talking about auto sector though. You know, top companies have had to cut their production because of slowdown in sales. Feb was one of the worst years for auto sales. So
you have to see it last 5 years.
Be careful
you have to see last 5 years. You have to see last 5 years number.
Okay, let me come. No, you are talking about events which happened a few months ago, and then you're saying that the auto sector is doing really well. It isn't. Okay, let Madhavan Naryanan come in. And
no, I'm saying that that's not our agenda. That's the agenda of the people, which also needs to be addressed.
Okay. Madhavan Naryanan, let me come down to the basic question, and because obviously a lot of conversation around the elections becomes very broad-based and vague. What does this come down to? And we'll come to the Modi factor and all of this in a bit, and whether that negates every other question that voters face. But the picture on both sides is very clear. It's national security on one and it's jobs on the other. Which side seems to be making a more compelling case at this point?
Tamanna, I wish I knew, but I do want to make a few points. First of all, Although Sanjay Jha is here to counter Zafar Iqbal, I was quite slightly amused to hear Zafar Iqbal paint a wonderful picture on development and jobs, even livelihood issues, whereas actually I thought that is where the BJP had some kind of a no-show. And if what Zafar Iqbal was saying was accurate, then there was absolutely no need to raise the pitch on national security. And therefore, from a political analysis point of view, I think it's an important one. We are all not naive enough to drink the Kool-Aid that whatever the Prime Minister says is the national priority. We understand there is an electoral politics there. We may quibble on the degree and the style, though. That is point number one. Yeah, Sanjay Jha again said a very somewhat a predictable narrative, but now he's probably feeling a little happy after the Supreme Court's ruling on Rafale. But I've been spending the day observing two things. One is some rural reports on what's going on from interior Bihar and others, from reporters who have been fanning out into the fields. And there, nothing seems to have changed. So as if the narratives of the drawing rooms and the TV studios do not matter enough. So that's one thing we have to keep in mind. The other thing is that the voter turnout, please let us understand from today, we have moved from a campaign mode to a voting mode. So we've got to be introspecting a little bit more about the patterns of turnouts and all. I'm very surprised to see a relatively low turnout in Western UP. And given the broad assumption or impression that Modi and Yogi Adityanath have, captured the imagination of the North, the low turnout is counterintuitive to that narrative. And therefore, I don't have to say much more right now, except to say that be prepared for surprises, because things are not following a simple pattern of the narrative-driven tutu meme. So I would look for details state by state, but it is abundantly clear to me that the further you go away from Delhi towards the south, the more important issues other than national security become. And it's both a geographical, historical, and political truth. And to that extent, the BJP is more accountable on various issues, be it jobs or livelihoods, or even the promises that were delivered or not. I think I heard Zafar Islam say the middle class is feeling better and all. There is a certain amount of stability brought about by 5 years of Modi rule. I will concede that. I will accept that. There is also the fact that inflation has been under control, but then that is precisely because farmers haven't been getting their due. One man's price is another man's income. So these are issues that will play out as we speak. And I have a feeling things have gone to a phase where we can safely say there is no wave going here. There is no wave. And a lot of issues will depend upon constituency-wise details, and some of the rural issues.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is no clear wave, and in the absence of clear big issues, there's a lot of noise, which is an attempt to confuse people at various times. I haven't gone into voter turnouts because the final figures still have to come in, and before we start analyzing that, Manu Sharma has been waiting patiently, and he's really the man who's been looking at tons of data on what are key issues for voters across geographies. So which is why, Manu, happy to hear what you have to say on this. We know, and we've spoken earlier, that in the early part of March, and after Balakot and after the strikes, etc., and mid-March or so, national security was on top of the list. Has that changed? And if it hasn't, then why this intense focus on propping it up as the biggest issue by the BJP?
Well, I think, most of the commentariat is actually looking in the wrong direction when they are trying to analyze Balakot and, what happened in the aftermath of Pulwama. You see, BJP is an ideology-driven party, and they have three pillars of faith. One is the Uniform Civil Code, the Article 370, and the Ram Mandir. And this party has grandly delivered nothing on that front. So let us turn the clock back to 2004. In 2004, Vajpayee was largely abandoned by the party and the Sangh cadres because they thought that he failed to deliver on either of the issues, which kind of were the touchstone for them. So BJP and particularly Prime Minister Modi had to deliver something that would have got the cadres enthused. So this exactly is not a vote catcher issue for the BJP, so much so as it is, the rousing call to the faithful for them, which is ensuring that the workers are coming to the booths and are manning the important ramparts of the electoral fortress. Now, coming to what's the core here? I mean, what is this election about? So if 2014 was about two forces which were, mutually reinforcing each other, one was the anger against Congress, and the other one was the promise of the Achhe Din by the Prime Minister. So these were two mutually reinforcing forces which helped BJP. But now there are two opposing forces. The first one is the grand presidential narrative in which the Prime Minister is a well-intentioned doer. He's had his hits and he's had his misses, but he's asking for another 5 years, to kind of take India to its manifest destiny, so as to say. On the other hand, is a re-energized opposition that's trying to poke holes in the performance. So now one would say, okay, fine, unemployment is the biggest issue, and we've been reporting it faithfully for the past 2 years that unemployment is the issue in the country. But when you ask people as to who is the more credible person who can resolve this issue, I think the answers would surprise everyone. And that is where the crux of this election lies. I mean, the faithful on either side of the political spectrum are I would say, they're kind of not focusing on the real issue, which is who will this electorate treat as more credible person when it comes to resolution of pressing issues that this nation faces, and on top of that is unemployment.
So two interesting things. Manu Sharma seems to suggest that it's more about personalities, and one key point, Sanjay Jha, which I must come to you on, is that unemployment is a large issue, but are people linking it back to a failure of the Modi government? Are they making that link that, okay, unemployment is something we're suffering, or price rise, or rural distress is something we're suffering, and it is Modi's fault? And I think the Congress is falling behind in establishing that link.
Tamanna, let me tell you, there is a big difference between 2014 and 19. In 2014, it was less that Modi won it. It was more that Congress actually gave it to him on a silver platter. Now the people are not, following for those hollow rhetoric, right? Now Modi has to give his report card. You'll remember in 2014, he said, 5 saal ke baad I'll give you my report card. Now the manifesto or Narendra Modi's speeches, there's no mention of Achhe Din and Sabka Saath and jobs, employment, nothing at all. He doesn't talk on NPAs. He talks on nothing but the government has failed. Now the truth is that this is our ground reports where people are very, very clear. While it's true that, there is a certain manufactured halo about Narendra Modi, people are also aware that BJP leaders across the board have been terrible non-performers. And this is from both the cabinet as well as the MPs who have made preposterous statements, have been very divisive. And India at core remains, I believe, a secular democracy.
There,
so I think people,
but they're battling it. Amit Shah said recently that it is not candidates who are fighting. They're all representing Modi. They're going, all the parliamentary candidates are saying, you're not voting for me. Don't look at me. You're voting for Modi.
Yeah, but Tamanna, that is exactly the point. Why don't you ask yourself this question? Why is it that both in Gujarat, in the Assembly, and now in the Lok Sabha, the BJP periodically drops a number of its MPs and MLAs? Why? Because they actually win on some kind of a hype of Modi, while they basically are very, very weak candidates. That's what happened in 2014. I can tell you one example in Maharashtra where when BJP MP did not even campaign and he won it. This time it's not happening, right? Because the farmer unrest in Maharashtra is a big issue. as is unemployment. And don't forget one thing, if 65% of India is young and unemployment is high, it is a raging problem. Yeah. If 70% of India lives in the rural areas and farmer distress is a major problem, it is a pan-India epidemic, or whatever you want to call it.
No,
so these
I'm not denying it's a problem.
Repercussions in the voting patterns.
Yeah, okay, of course. The question is not whether it's a problem or not. People are willing to blame the current government for it. Zafar Islam wants to come in on your point, and then I have a counter question for me. Yes, Zafar, go ahead.
No, you have, Tamanna, because I have only 2-3 minutes left, I have to go to another channel. So if you could just pose your question as well, and I'll respond.
So my question, Zafar Islam, is that we've been talking about national security and jobs, but what about the issue of polarization that we have seen over the last few days? There is a tweet today from the official BJP handle which talks about implementing NRC across the country and removing infiltrators apart from those from 3 religions. We have heard the Ali Bajrang Bali, sort of dialogue coming from Yogi Adityanath once again. We have seen the attempt to evoke this polarization again and again. Now, some observers say that the BJP is sounding a little desperate because that's the last resort of the party when they're not too sure where things are going.
So that, if you have read our Sankalp Patra, Tamanna, then you must have seen that all these points have already been captured. All these issues have been captured. We are committed to deliver 370, 35A and NRC, something which we have mentioned, something which we have spoken, and something which we are committed to deliver.
And secondly, something which was in 2014 manifesto as well.
These are not an issue for polarization. These are the issue where ideological commitment we have. We feel that this needs to be delivered because it's expectation of the people of this country. Secondly, what is more important, what Sanjay Jha was talking about, all these rhetorics will not work because people who are experiencing better and achhe din is something which they, based on their experience, like in terms of electricity to every household.
Yeah, but Zafar Islam, since you've said you have a couple of minutes, I must pin you down on that question. You've skirted it completely. You've skirted it completely. I'm not talking about what's in your manifesto. Everything you mentioned was in your last manifesto as well. I'm talking about what your leaders are saying in campaign speeches. And why is there an attempt to polarize at this point in the election? Does it betray nervousness?
You are talking about 370, 35 and NRC is something
I'm talking about Ali Bajrang Bali.
We have mentioned in our
talking about the comments made on Wayanad by the Prime Minister. I'm saying why don't you then?
Why don't you also in the same breath? In the same breath, I agree with you. In the same breath, why don't you also mention that what the BSP Supremo was appealing Muslim community to vote for
no, it's terrible, but no one from the BSP is on my panel right now. You're right, it's terrible, but no one from the BSP is on my panel right now. You are there, I have to ask you.
I'm saying it was, if a political party and its Supremo, its Supremo is making this kind of appeal, is something which is, I think everyone should notice.
Yeah.
And that has been...
Is that your standard now? Is Mayawati your standard now?
Supreme Lord was doing
BSP leader said that if they are saying that if they are saying that they need only Muslim vote, then what else one can say about it? That if you need Muslim vote, then okay, we are left with Hindu vote. We will only resort to Hindu vote. Congress party also tries to polarize, but we do not want to polarize. We have only said
you're not
you are looking for a Muslim vote.
You are not answering my question. No one from the BSP is on my panel. They shouldn't have done it, but I didn't know that your parameter was the BSP right now. I want to come to my experts on the issue of polarization and why we're seeing this in this last phase. I know you have to go, Zafar Islam, and that is fine. But let me come to Madhavan Naryanan on why we're seeing this sort of... and it's not like it's the first time we've seen it in a lot of state elections as well. Towards the end, this push comes in. Do you think it makes a big difference, and why do you think it's happening?
Tamanna, I wish I could answer that question because anything I would say would only be a guess. But my guess would be not primary but secondary. The higher the pitch, the lower their own estimates based on intelligence levels from the ground reports. So my own guess is that Amit Shah has been forced to go beyond what Zafar Islam was saying in the manifesto, saying that, this whole statement about nationwide tooth combing of the citizenship issue, and very clearly saying that citizenship will be based not on constitutional principles, but on the basis of a religious or ethnic factors, is itself is a giveaway. What we are saying is Hindutva on steroids as a last-minute tactic, and that basically shows not just a keenness in an ideological level, but also some kind of a political gambit to get the maximum possible extraction of votes based on those criteria, because they know that this is their strength, and it's a little too late to play any of the economic cards, because if you look back, everything including demonetization and jobs and some of the other Achhedin issues are not looking as good. Yeah, they talk about LPG cylinders for women, the Ujjwala scheme. They talk about general crackdown on black money. But, if it is true that Modi has built a successful narrative on national security, it is equally true that Rahul Gandhi has built a successful narrative on development issues. So what the voters have to do now is to weigh these two narratives, and based on their personal and regional considerations, assign a weightage to these issues and vote alongside. Yeah. And it is very clear that BJP is playing on its strengths. That's what showed in the manifesto. That's what shows in Amit Shah's speech, the BJP's official handle tweets today. It's not a Mahesh Sharma or a Tathagat Roy shouting out of turn from here. This is the official handle of the Bharatiya Janata Party on Twitter. Take the cue.
Exactly.
There's not much left to
let me ask Manu Sharma about this. And, the reason also this is interesting is because let's go back 5 years. And in 2014, the BJP was at this point speaking about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. In fact, that was the reason, in hindsight, that people gave to why a lot of non-core BJP voters actually also made that choice. Why the change in tactic?
Well, I would slightly disagree with this, kind of averment that there is a change of tactic. If we rewind back about 5 years, what was happening in Uttar Pradesh? You had Sanjeev Balyan, you had a Muzaffarnagar, the whole western UP belt. It had just been through riots, and there was this polarization. To understand what BJP is up to, we'll have to understand the electoral tapestry of a lot of heartland and the western Indian states. So, for example, Gujarat, for example, Uttar Pradesh, these are what we can call, in terms of, psephology, the polarizable states. The same tactic will definitely not work in Bihar, as we had seen during the Vidhan Sabha elections prior to this. So, what's happening is that there is a fight between a caste arithmetic and the united spectrum of Hindu votes. Now, which one will win? That's really into the realm of future. But as of now, the BJP tactic is to play to its strengths, that is, try and polarize the states which have that kind of a latent characteristic and use it, at the hustings. So there isn't much to be read about it. It's a time-tested strategy. They've been using this since the Kalyan Singh era, and at least in UP. We can also, similarly look at Gujarat. So to some aspects, maybe in Rajasthan also. So there are some states, which are polarizable by nature, and BJP is trying to use that streak. So there isn't much to be read, that there would be intelligence inputs, or BJP is doing well or it's not doing well. I wouldn't hazard a guess as of now.
Okay. Sanjay Jha wanted to come in for a quick comment. Yes, Sanjay.
If you look at the BJP, its political business model has been to always keep the communal temperature on a boil and keep India permanently fractured between the Hindu-Muslim divide. This is exactly what Narendra Modi is doing. And as you rightly said, Amit Shah is tweeting officially today, which I think is an extremely divisive tweet, is coming from the president of the ruling party. And Narendra Modi now is publicly talking about Hindu majority, Hindu minority. And then, of course, he is defying the election commission and asking votes on Pulwama and on Balakot. So there is a clear manifestation here of one is BJP's political intent, but also its electoral insecurity. And I think this is up there. So now, this time when people are voting, and Tamanna, keep note of this, they had 18% of the votes in 2009, which went up to 31%. And if anybody believes that that 13% rise happened, or 13% growth rather, happened on account of people who believe the Hindutva agenda, I don't think so. And I do believe there were many people who really believed, who did not really spend too much time on Godra, etc. And they had faith in the man.
But you know, Sanjay Jha, what the BJP has successfully managed to do is force the Congress to change its pitch over the last 5 years. And especially in the last couple of years. The Congress is now afraid to be seen to appeal to minorities in any possible way. There is a fear, and you know, you spoke about Imran Khan's comments later from Pakistan,
Tamanna,
and it plays into that you have been painted into a corner, and which is why Imran Khan is saying that tomorrow if there's a Congress government, they wouldn't really be able to reach out to us. They would be browbeaten by right-wing activists. So in that sense, they've succeeded. They've succeeded in pushing the Congress into a corner.
Tamanna, no, they haven't. Let me give you a very, very forthright answer here. Please read our manifesto. We have made a public commitment that within the first session of Parliament, the Congress party will enact a law against lynching. I mean, that, and you know who has got lynched. We know which was the minister who got garlanded, and Narendra Modi said nothing. The Congress party is committed to this. Listen, we are inherently secular. I think what we have done is neutralize the BJP.
I have read your manifesto and I have read your previous
I don't know where you can fault us on delivery there.
No, and I see,
I want to make a point.
To stay away. But yeah, I mean,
I'm saying this. I'm saying this with full responsibility. We'll enact a law against lynching, and I want to make another point here. Please understand this, that we made the difference between Hindutva and Hinduism very clear over the last 3 years. I think that has neutralized the BJP completely. They don't represent Hinduism. I'm a Hindu. They don't represent my religion. We believe in ecumenical love. We are compassionate. We are tolerant.
Thanks so much,
we are not like hate mongers.
Thanks so much,
we don't beat up minorities.
Madhavan Naryanan and Manu Sharma. Of course, Zafar Islam had to leave a little early, but before this big election, Madhavan, is there a last point you want to make?
No, all I want to say is that the issues have to go beyond this urban chatter, and I'm pretty much certain that it is going there. And therefore, the game has shifted from the what I call narrative bazi to the true head count. And I think it's time to talk less and observe more. Today's low turnouts, I've just been watching turnout figures at 5 p.m. and it's under 50% in Bihar. What does it signify? That people are getting either cynical or some kind of a fatigue has come in. Certainly there seems to be no sign of a wave, and that is why the devil and the God both lie in the details.
Absolutely. We'll have to look at those low turnout figures. Traditionally, low turnouts do benefit cadre-based parties more than others. We'll have to see what this really means. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today.